Yeah, we are live.
All right. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for tuning into this sixth episode of Joomla NXT. So this is me, your host Ashwin, and today we have a wonderful person, Robbie, with us for the for the session. So this is the first Joomla NXT of 2022. So we're glad everybody's joined us for first version this year. Joomla NXT is we've been doing these events starting August last year, getting on board Joomla enthusiasts, people from the community, business people, different personas in the Joomla sphere, to talk about topics that they really are experts in. So it's been good. It's been good so far. We've had a lot of speakers, and then on to today. So this is the journey. We've done 5 so far. Today is the 6th episode. Nice pictures of some of our past speakers. And then, so I'd like to welcome Robbie from Houston. She's the CEO of Media A Team and OSTraining. I'm sure everybody knows OSTraining. They're doing a lot of fantastic stuff in the training space. And I think Robbie is also part of the WordPress ecosystem. So it's great to have somebody who has kind of been on both sides, Joomla and WordPress. So I'm sure that adds a lot of dimension to the way you work. And I see Robbie, that you've also been a host for a podcast. So I hope for a change, sitting on our other side of the table, that's a nice experience for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. All right, so cool. Thanks a lot. And then over to you, Houston. Ready when you are.
Right. Hi, and welcome everybody. And thank you so much, guys, for having me on the first show of 2022. That's amazing. I am going to share a slideshow. I'm going to take over here, guys. So I'm going to share a slideshow here so that it will kind of walk me through this. I was telling them I'm just now starting my coffee, so everybody bear with me. It'll be all right in a few minutes as soon as that caffeine hits my veins. My name is Robbie Adair, as they've already mentioned. And today what we're going to be talking about on here are custom fields. We're going to be looking at them in Joomla 4 because that is the emphasis of this series. And so we're going to be looking at custom fields in Joomla 4, but I do like to tell everyone, that custom fields are in Joomla 3 as well. So if your site has Joomla 3 and you want to utilize what I'm going to show you in this presentation, you're more than likely going to be able to do everything that I showed you in this presentation. And obviously give a shout out to the guys with Joomla NXT hashtags out there. And okay, good. They've got the recording going. So anyway, hashtag is out there if you find this interesting. And the slide deck I will give to Techjoomla after this so that they can post it somewhere for you guys. All right, just a little bit about me, because we don't need to talk about me too much. We need to get right into the topic, but there are a couple of things I want to point out. One, I do have a personal site. I call it my redheaded stepchild because I never have time to actually put anything on it. Every now and then I will, but it's pretty out of date right now. My agency, which will this year in October celebrate 20 years in business. I can't believe that. This is like amazing. So this year will be 20 years for Media A Team. We're a media agency, so we do a lot of websites, particularly website application design. And then we also do video production. So that's kind of our main core services that we have. We do other marketing and media services around that, but those are our main core services. And then with OSTraining, which I took over 2.5 years ago, we deliver training. And probably a lot of you in the Joomla space are familiar with us because it actually started out as Joomla training before it was OSTraining. So OSTraining, we do all types of open source training and other tools that might help web developers. And excuse me, and we do encourage you to go and check out. We try to release new classes once a month. We're about to release a new website though, so we haven't released a class in the last month and a half, but we've got like 4 new classes, I think, that we'll be releasing with that new site launch. And one of those classes will be a Joomla 3 to Joomla 4 class. And then we also are working on our beginner series for Joomla again with Joomla 4. So those are all coming up here soon. The other thing that I want to mention on this slide is that I'm part of the group that puts together J-Day USA. We've done it last year. I used to organize, it was first Joomla Day Houston, then we decided to go bigger. We went Joomla Day Texas. When the pandemic hit, as you know, all of these Joomla days were really hurt, just like in the WordPress where the WordCamps were hurt as well. So everybody went virtual. Going virtual is difficult to get enough people involved. And so a lot of the organizers of Joomla Days here in the States, we all got together and we're like, hey, let's do Joomla Day USA. And it was really a great success last year. We had fantastic sessions. We had over 100 people. So it was a very good event. And I encourage you to check it out. It's coming up this April. We already have a call to speakers open and a call to sponsors. So check it out and join us on that day. All right. So what are we going to talk about in today's session? I like to give you what are we going to do in here? First, I'm going to talk about custom fields because maybe you haven't used them yet. Maybe you have, and some of this may be a little elementary for you, but I want to just give an overview of what custom fields are. They're very powerful little tools that we have built into the core of Joomla, which I think is amazing. And I think that it's probably something that a lot of people, because it came later on, they just didn't really embrace them, but they're really cool little tools. And so I want us to go over them in here today. I also, because coming from an app development side, I really want us to look at where the data is stored. So that way, if you're going to utilize that data for other things, maybe extensions and such, you need to kind of know where the data is, or maybe you're going to be porting it out with a web service to a mobile app. So you need to know how your data is stored. And then we're going to look at some examples. There's actually some great articles out there that have some examples of use cases that we're going to take a look at. And then we're actually going to make some fields. I've got a little demo site set up for us. I've already got some stuff built in there that I'm going to show you, but also I'll show you actually setting up a field, setting up a group. And then we'll have questions at the end. I am notorious for taking up all the time, so I'm going to try my best to get us done with at least 10 minutes of question time. So what are custom fields? And you might have seen these in Joomla and we're just like, yeah, I don't know what that is. I'm not going to use it because I don't know what it is. Or maybe you tried to use it and you just couldn't figure out how to get it to show on the front end with your template and everything. And so it just might have been more frustrating. And so you're like, I don't know. So the beauty of having these custom fields is it gives you a way to separate data. So we all know if we have data on a website, which is what most of them are about, right? We need that data to be sortable and searchable in some manner. For instance, let's say we had a movie website and we were going to talk about movies on this, and we had a movie poster and we had who the director was and we had what it grossed and we have the country that it was released in. We have all this information about movies. We could make a category called movies, right? And we can even do subcategories. And then we could, inside of each article, inside of Joomla, we could put all that information. We could even lay it out very pretty in tables or divs and things like that. And we can make it look great so that every page looks exactly the same. But having all that content just inside of that article doesn't make it easy for us to filter that data by, let's say, director. I could use Joomla search, but again, these are just not the way we're used to searching for data. We're used to being able to say, hey, there's a director whose first name starts with David and ends with Lynch, and I would like to see all movies by this person. And so having a director field allows us to have that type of capability. So grouping, sorting, filtering this data. It also lets you lay out that data in a more logical manner. Yes, I could lay it all out in that article, but maybe I want to use some sidebars and things like that. And so I can actually lay this data out. Let's say there's a a tab of fields that are called movie information. And one of those fields is director, but we had all these others. But the director is more important than, say, my country of release. That's going to be down in my smaller. Having that data in one place to enter is great, but having that data displayed where my director is more called out, my country is lower down in the specs of the movie, it's a better way to lay out our data as well visually for the people who are digesting your information. So we can do a lot better layout this way with these custom fields. Excuse me. Now, custom fields have actually been there since Joomla 3.7. So we've had these suckers around for years now. So hopefully you have taken a look at them. Maybe, maybe not. But if not, I hope this encourages you to do that. Now, what I was giving you examples of was using custom fields on articles, right? Because that is where the core of our data is. But we also have users, hopefully. We have a site that has a lot of users, right? And maybe we want to actually have more information than what the default Joomla form has about our users. It's pretty default. I mean, it's pretty much like the username and their email and password, right? I mean, we have a very limited amount of information we're gathering on the people who are becoming members. Not to mention, just for starters, there's just a name. There's not a first name, last name. So if we want to sort by last name, can't do it. So allowing us to create more fields on a user record allows us to have more data about each user. Maybe we want to mark if they're a member or not. Maybe we want to, maybe our site is movies and we want to ask them what their favorite genres are. You know, we can collect all the state. Maybe we want their address. Maybe we just want their country of origin. Maybe we want to know their first and last name separately. Maybe we want to get their birthday because we want to send out a private message to all our members on their birthdays. So we can gather more information also using custom fields on users. So we can put it on articles, we can put it on users. We can also put it on contact forms. The contact form in Joomla is also pretty basic, right? Because not everybody needs the same thing. So it's going to have the most basic contact form you can have. But you can, with custom fields, add to that contact form and make it more robust. So you can ask specific questions. What department are you needing to send this message to? Maybe things like that. And so maybe what, you know, are you, let's say it's a website for an electric company. Are you an existing customer or not? This is a great question to ask when somebody's going to submit your contact form. All of these things can be added with custom fields. Now, that was all it started with when we had custom fields first introduced, were articles, users, and contact forms. But since then, I know WebLink supports custom fields. There are a lot of now other extensions that work with custom fields. Either they add more custom fields, or maybe they let you do things like sort and filter custom fields. So you're seeing the custom fields being adopted into other components, other extensions. One of the things that I really like about custom fields is that they have down to the field level given us access control. So that means, let's say I had those user fields I was just talking about, but let's say I also want to have another tab of fields or just a particular field that is for my admins. Maybe they need to mark something about this user. This user's been approved, yes or no. Or maybe they want to put notes on a user. You could use notes, but if you're already using your custom fields, you could put all this information in there. Maybe you want to give some more data that other admins can look at. And this could happen again on articles, contact forms, users. Maybe on your contact form, you want to add, has this person been contacted? Did they respond? Maybe you want to have all of that information. So then you can go back and look at all your contact forms that were submitted, and you can see what actions were taken on those. Also inside of articles, especially if you're going to be using some sort of team to look at articles and such, you may want to have some back-end information for all of your admins to use. It also supports language, multi-language, which is always very important inside of the core of Joomla. And of course, we have layouts. We've got groups, so we can use different tabs inside of our articles or users. And then there's more things. Since they were introduced, we've gotten more and more functionality coming out of the custom fields. And I think we're going to see it grow more in Joomla 4. So I just want to give you kind of just a quick view of where are they, what do they look like. So if I'm looking in the back end of Joomla 4, under content, you'll see we've got our articles and categories, correct? But then we've also got fields and field groups. Now, so what you're looking at right now is a field group. I like to set up my field groups first and then set up my fields. You don't have to have a field group to have fields, but I like it just because I like to be organized. So I always start with my group, And so let's say, for instance, we have a website and we're going to have some books on it. This is our example site that I built. So we're going to look at putting book information on our articles that are about each individual book. So we have book info is going to be our group. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create some fields. So like, for instance, what would you gather about a book? ISBN number, page length, type, genre. And notice that these are all in that field group that I made. So as I make the custom fields, I select which field group I want them to belong to. And we do select more things about that. So we'll talk about that in a second here, which is category. So this is adding a new field. This is the new field form. And so you can see this is my ISBN number one. And so the title of it is ISBN. It is the type of text. Over on the right where I've highlighted, you can see I've selected for this field to be associated only with one category, which is called books. I don't want it to show up in my blog category. I don't want it to show up in the About Us section. I only want this field to be associated with articles in the books category, because that's what I'm trying to give more data about. Then on the article itself, so this is editing an article in the back end of Joomla 4, you'll see where we have content, but then you'll see there's a new tab, a tab that you don't probably have in the back end of your Joomla, because I made one called Book Info, that group. And also, by the way, if I were to open up an article under another category in here, I might not have that tab. So don't remember that these are associated to categories if you want them to be. They could be wide open on everything. If I don't associate, then they're on everything. But if I say, no, I want this only on this category, then it's going to be on that category. Now, remember I said, I like to know where the data lives. So where, I know my article data, well, I hope you know, your article data lives in com content. Okay, so that's where our article in Joomla, since it was Mambo, it's been in com content. So that is where our article data lives. But where do these extra fields live? They don't live in the same table with it. They actually have other tables where this is being stored. And if you also, as I mentioned, I'm in both worlds, Joomla and WordPress. And in the WordPress world, you have metadata, right? Metadata also kind of functions the same way. So I have in here, I have a table that is, it's going to be your, whatever your prefix is to your Joomla. So XXX underbar, you have fields, field categories, field groups, and field values. So that's what we just kind of looked at in the back end of Joomla, but now let's look at it in the back end of MySQL. So you can see right here, this is my field groups, and there it is, book info, the one that I showed you on the front. That's my group. It is stored in my groups table. Now, please note here that all custom fields, no matter which one you're using, I mean, use articles or user, they're going to store in these same tables. And every group, even no matter how many categories I'm going to assign fields to, everything stores inside of these. They are related to your groups, your categories. So they do have relationship, as well as they're going to have relationships to our articles. So this is our first table that I like you to look at, which is the field groups. That's our book info group that we made. These are the elements, so the fields, right here, the fields table. So you can see there's my fields table. These are all of the 4 fields that I put in that particular group. You can see they all have the same group ID. My group ID was 2 for that because I'd made one and trashed it, I guess. And so my group ID was 2. And you can see all of these fields belong to group ID 2. Now, if I had other groups, there'd be a mix of fields to group IDs here. I just try to keep it very clean and simple for you guys to relate to what we just looked at in Joomla to our tables. Then there is the fields category, because remember, these fields can be assigned to certain categories. Category 79 is books inside of my Joomla instance. And so category 79 is the books category for articles. And so you can see that those 4 fields that I made, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which are the ISBN, the book link, those are all associated to the category. So we had groups, fields, they also belong to groups, but then fields can also be associated with their appropriate categories. And then lastly, once we actually start filling in articles and we're putting information in, that's our values, okay? So we have values. So you can see here that the item ID is in here. So these were 2 different articles, 72 and 73 are articles. It tells me which field ID, 6, 8, 5, 7. So these are my fields. And these are the actual volume, the values on those fields. So we have like page number, I can tell kind of looking at my data, page number, 387 pages on that particular one. The other one has 939 pages. So we can see how it's storing that data for us in here, which is, it is all in one table. So there is that. So pretty much anytime you're going to be querying for this for other things, you're probably going to need to filter down, but you have all the information at your disposal here to create a very detailed query out of this. And so the data is structured. And that's the important thing. Our data is now about these extra things, our book count, our ISBN. This data is now structured in a way that we can utilize it, even if it's just to make it lay out pretty or to enter easily. Having your data structured is much better than having it all just piled inside of an article. All right. So let's talk about custom fields documentation. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this presentation, and I will say that there's been some presentations done out there that were fantastic. I'm going to talk about those in just a minute. So there are some presentations out there that are very good. We're actually working on a course for custom fields as well with OSTraining because I think it needs a course at this point. It's kind of matured and grown. The documentation, it's not bad. I mean, we're a volunteer group, right, Joomla? And so the documentation, though, has not all been updated to 4. The documentation is still talking about Joomla 3. But again, just like this, I'm going to talk about it in Joomla 4. You can relate it to the Joomla 3. Joomla 3 documentation will help you in Joomla 4. So the documentation is out there. That is the link. You can also just go search the docs for custom fields and you'll find that same link in there. But you just note it is still just for Joomla 3. I'm not involved with that team, so I don't know when they're planning on releasing the Joomla 4 documentation for custom fields. I know there is some Joomla 4 documentation, so it's happening, but I'm not sure when custom fields will happen just yet. So this documentation, there's a few things that are, like it says, 15 different types. I think we have 16 different types. So there's a little bit of discrepancy in this, but overall, it will give you probably the answers you're looking for when you start working inside of custom fields. So definitely check out the official Joomla documentation because, and I'll show you that site here in just a minute too. I'll show you, because one of the things I really like about it is they do break down the individual types and give you a little more details about each type. So what type of custom fields are there? Wow, guys, there are quite a few custom fields. These are core. What I'm showing you there, those are core. There are other custom fields out there that you can find that you can install. Okay, you can actually create your own if you want, but you can go and install more. I know there's a couple of, I can't remember the names of them offhand, but I know there are a couple that are pretty popular out there. So just, do a little search on it. If you have a need that doesn't fit inside of these core, then do a little searching. I will say though, now there's a couple of them there that really strengthen this lineup, and that's the SQL one. So you can actually do SQL query on your database to create a dropdown. So this could be, let's say, for instance, maybe you want them to, trying to find a good example here. Let's say it's on the user field and you want them to pick their favorite genre, and you want to do that from your list of genres. You could just write a SQL that goes and looks at the list of genres that you have, because maybe that's a growing list somewhere else. So you can't just make it a hard-coded dropdown. You want to make it a flexible so that as genres are added, it updates your dropdown. You can do that with a SQL custom field. The other important one is called subform. Now, I don't know if it's still called this in Joomla 3 or if they changed it in Joomla 3 yet, but it was the repeatable form is what it was called. I think it was just called repeatable. I can't remember what it's called exactly, something repeatable. They've named it subform, which is actually a more appropriate name, I feel like, but it does allow you to have a repeatable form, meaning I have these fields and I want them to repeat. Like, for instance, you'll see in my example, I have on the books, one of my tabs is also awards. Well, I want to know what the award was, what year it was. Maybe I want to ask them, what the topic was, what their particular one was. And then I want that to be able to be repeated as many times as awards they've won, right? Maybe they have none, maybe they have one, maybe they have 3, maybe they have 13. I don't know. So having a repeatable group there gives me that flexibility. Now, all 16 of these, though, they have some they have some common parameters. You're going to have your title, right? You're going to have what type it is. You're going to have your ACL setting, like who can see this field? Where is it assigned to? There are some basic custom settings on every one of these. But then once you determine which type you want, now you're going to start getting unique parameters per type. Like, for instance, let's say I pick the integer. Integer is going to let me have a drop down of numbers from a range. I want this to be from 1 to 10, this drop down. And so those settings, the min max, are in that particular custom field. But whereas I pick text, there's no need for those parameters. I have different parameters there. So just note that each one of these types will give you different options. So when you select it, you're going to go, oh, okay, what does this one have? And you're going to have to go through those options. I also want to note, because this is a good thing to know whenever you're building, when you create a custom field, and once you save it, you selected the type. Let's say I picked list and I saved it. That type is now unchangeable. So if I got the wrong thing, I'm like, that really won't work. I really needed a radio button because only, whatever. I want them to see all their options all at one time and just pick it. You can't change that custom field type. You will need to make a new one and delete that old one. So just note, it's okay. Just make them so you can try it and see what you need. And then if it doesn't work, make a new one and get rid of the old one. All right, so let's talk about some examples here. And I started to take you through a whole ton of examples, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to, there's a whole in the Joomla magazine, which I hope all of you know about. And if not, get involved in the magazine. You could write for the magazine if you want, but if nothing else, just look out for the editions of the magazine, because there's some really good information there. There's a custom fields article series by Mike and Mark. Oh, I'm going to mess up his last name. Okay, I'm not even going to attempt his last name. It's French. I can't speak French, but let me tell you, Mark has done an amazing job with this custom fields article series. And I highly encourage you, if you're going to be using custom fields, take the time to go through. I think there's 7 or 8 articles in his series. I'll show it to you in just a minute as well. And in those, one, he's explaining to you and showing you how to actually implement custom fields, but he also is showing you tons of examples of sites that are using it and how they're using it. So that gives you more ideas of the ways that you can use these custom fields. And we're going to pull that up in just a second so I can show it to you. But even there in his graphic that he had on his, you can see I want a directory. Well, custom fields are going to allow you to do directories. You want a directory of persons. Oh, well, then use custom fields on users. I film data sheets. So I want to, like I was talking about, I want a site that's about movies. It could be books, even a product catalog. You can do this with a product catalog, especially if you're going to use something like J2 Store that's going to utilize your articles as products. Now you can actually get more complicated with those products, giving more options that are structured data that allows you to then filter and sort by. Another thing that I want to point out for these, another resource is Joomla Shack, one of their events that they did. Carlos Camara, I probably messed up his name as well, but Carlos also did a video on using custom fields And he specifically in there did something I thought was really kind of cool. You might want to check out. He uses it with Open Graph, and I thought that was a really cool idea. And so you should check out his presentation as well. It might be a little technical for some, but I thought it was an excellent presentation. And so I'm going to go and I want us to take a look at some of these examples here that Mark showed. So I'm going to very quickly, I want to stop sharing this and I want to share another screen with you very quickly, and that is this one. All right, not that one, here. Okay, so I'm just searching in the magazine for this particular author, and you can see that he has a ton of articles here. All of these are a series about custom fields, even into this, I don't know if he has one this year yet, no, but all the way up into November of 2021. And he started this back when they were, you know, really kind of fresh and new, but still it's applicable. So I do suggest you check it out. If you look in one of his articles, where I was talking about, not only does the graphic give us some examples here, but he actually, as we go on down his article here, will give you some real life sites and how they're using these. You can see this is a list of users, right? But they've got languages, they've got the enterprise they belong to. So this is more information than you would normally have with a list of users, correct? Maybe this one, you can see they are, let's see, wait, not that one, this movie data sheet. So, which I just call movie site, or this one's a film festival. So this film festival used it, and they use custom fields to show like date and time, the venue, the trailer, the introduction, a list of short films that are going to be in a particular session. There's so many things you could use this for to help you lay out your data and separate and structure your data. And then let's see. This is a really cool thing too, and I really like that he kind of gave some out-of-the-box ideas with using custom fields. So down here you can see one of the custom fields, I don't know if you saw, there was color. Well, what would I be picking a color for? I'm usually picking a color because I'm going to use it in my styling in some manner. And so you can see here, they did a great job of using their color to set background colors on all of these. So you could actually say, this article has a pink color and this article has a red color. And then in your layout, you will have to have a custom layout there, but then you can actually use that as your color for your overlay on this. So there's some really cool things that you can use these for. And so I really like his article. He in every one of his articles, he usually mentions some more examples. And so I do suggest these. The other thing that I mentioned in there that I wanted to show you is the documentation that's on Joomla's site, and I do highly recommend you look at this. But you can see that there are good write-ups on each type of field. So that way, if you're like, well, what does the checkbox field do, you know, or what is this? And you can see they haven't changed it from repeatable field, that was what it's called, to subform. Let's say radio field, you know, what does the radio field? Oh, it's going to give me one option. You know, what is the checkbox field? Well, that's going to give me multiple options. These are kind of, we know a lot of these, right? Just from basic HTML form building, you probably know a lot of these types, but it doesn't hurt to kind of read up on what their take is on it, because it might be slightly different than what you think, like the integer field. It's not just, I'm limiting it to integer. It gives me some other options like ranges and such as that. So these are good places for you to find resources on doing these. Now, let me, we're going to now just take a look at a site that I was talking about. So I've got this little sample site I put together. It's all full of just junk information. There's nothing real in this, although I use it quite often, and I've noticed it's starting to get a lot more hits. Maybe I should put some information on there that's real. But they have a section called Our Books in our demo site. And our books are literally just, this is a category blog, right, of articles. And these articles are about books. So here's Critter Tales. Remember I said we put in the ISBN. There's that ISBN. So I've got title to my article. I've got an ISBN. I've got a little blurb. If I go to learn more about this book, I've got the cover larger. I've got the title again. I've got the book details. I've got the author, and by the way, this author I'm pulling as being the author of the article. You could make a custom field as opposed to pulling the author of the article. It depends on how you want this data to be managed. Is this data managed by the authors? In which case they need to be the authors of the actual article, but they may still prefer a custom field where they can spell their name out exactly how they want it. And then we've got how many pages it is, what type it is, and then a subgenre of that. A book synopsis, which is some lovely lore ipsum there. So let's take a look at the back end. Let's look at the back end engine of this. And so let's log in. And under content, we're going to go to field groups. And I've actually added another one since those screenshots in my slide deck. So I've added one called awards because I wanted you to see repeatable subforms. So we have book info, we have awards. Let's look at our fields. So under our fields, I've got ISBN, page link, type, and genre. I'm just going to open these up so we can kind of see them. So we've got ISBN. It is type text. You see how this is grayed out. Can't change it after you've made it. So just keep that in mind. We can pick what group it belongs to. So I've got this in book info. And then we can set categories that we want. Remember, if you don't set a category, it's on everything. That may be what you're looking for. Now, this is text field. And so you'll see that these are the type of parameters I'm getting. I've got these options available to me. Do I want a placeholder in there? Do I want to put a class on it so I can style it a certain way? We've got rendering classes too as well. So we've got the form, the input form, and then we've got the display. So you want to put a prefix on that or a suffix. Let's say we wanted to put, this is money, so we could put a prefix on it. We could put a suffix on it if we need to put something after the fact, like pages on those pages would have probably been good. Was this ISBN? We don't need it on this one. Now, I do have an extra tab here, and that's because I've installed another extension that I want to show you very quickly, which is a filtering parameter, JL custom fields filter, I think. I'll look it up and show you in just a second. I'll show you in the back end. But it adds another tab here because it allows me to say whether I want this particular field to show up in my filters for people to search and sort by. You're publishing, which you're used to from articles anyway, and then permissions. So you've got permissions, publishing, and then on that general, I did need to point out here, we have access levels. So we can set these access levels to whoever we want to have access to this, or above whoever we don't want to have access to it. Okay, so let me close that. So those are the ones that go under book info group. Award name, award date, and then awards. So you can see this is a text field, this is a calendar field, and this is a subform. Notice these are marked subform only. If I look under that, this was also in the other one we just looked at, use only in a subform. That means I don't want this to show up as a single field in my article. I want this to show up inside of a subform. So let me close this and show you inside of my subform awards. So this is a subform. I get to pick what fields I want to be in this repeatable group. I only made 2, but I could have made more here. You could make as many fields as you want inside of this repeatable group. So let's say, for instance, let's say if you were going to do past jobs, you're doing kind of a resume layout on users, then you could have date, start date, end date, employer, contact information, job duty description, all of that kind of stuff. You could put a whole set inside of this form. Again, I've got this one locked down to my books category though. Now let's take a look at those in the articles. So if I go to my articles and let's just go ahead and let's filter this down to our books. Oops. I only have 2 in here. We'll make a new one. But so we've got koala days. Let's take a look at this one first. So we've got our content. This is just your regular Joomla content, right? If you wanted to do, I was using an intro image in here and full article image. You could just put images in it. But again, this is another way of structuring your data. These become structured data once you use your real intro image and full article image. So that way, if you're going to be pulling to, say, a mobile app to pull these books down to, I could grab intro image when I want a small, full when I want the full. So we're structuring that data. Whereas if it was just in our content, not so easy to do. Not so easy though. our options for layout, but book info. So this is what we made in the back. We can put our ISBN, we can put the page length in here. And I actually have this as a integer, which is a little crazy because that's a big drop down to go up to like 1,000 pages or whatever. I probably should have just put in text and let them type it in. But you want to make sure that you do lock people down so that the data is as consistent as possible, and you're trying to eliminate as much human error as possible as well. Type, I'm actually just using a checkbox or radio box so that I can only pick one at a time here, because I can't be fiction and nonfiction at the same time. Well, maybe sometimes it feels like it, but you can only have fiction or nonfiction here. And then under the genre under that, then you can have a drop down. So we only pick one here as well, which that is a little bit, if you really were going to get into this building this book site, I probably would reevaluate the genre and make it a checkbox, because you could have a mystery horror or a mystery comedy. And so you might want to mix those up. Now, could I go and change this one? No, I would have to make a new one. So just keep that in mind. Now, awards, this awards tab. So we set this up as a subform. So it shows me what I'm going to be able to put in here: award name, award date. I have none right now. So we're like, list all the awards this book has won. So I click this one and I'm going to say, this is the People's Choice. I think that's really movies instead of books, but that's okay. And then I could pick a date. And I did have a problem with this calendar, by the way, not wanting to work with me on these. We'll just pick a date here. Let's pick today. I would have to work with this template is probably what I've got to fix this template in here. But even when I add a new one, you'll notice my calendar is still not wanting to scroll in. Let me see the top of it. I'm pretty sure there's a way I can make it pop down instead. But even so, inside of this constrained box, it goes underneath this. So that is something that I would probably have to fix on this to make it usable for my client. But so we'll pick some dates here and we'll put, well, that's a director. Let's just say author mention. So we put award names, we put these in here, and then we'll save and close this. Now, I actually haven't put anything to show those yet on the front end. So now let's go and let's look at our books, because we just put, which one would you put that on? Koala Days. So Koala Days, we actually just added some awards to, but I'm not showing awards on this page. Now, depending on what template you're using, and I'm using YouThink's Page Builder. You want to make sure if you're using some sort of page builder or a template that you can use parameters in, you want to make sure they support custom fields. Or if you're going to use something, maybe you're just going to build right on Cassiopeia, then you're just going to have to go in and edit your layouts. If you want to change the way they lay out, they actually do lay out. And let me show you that really quickly. I have a canned website that is just, here we go. Just like a sample Cassiopeia here. Here you go. So Cassiopeia, this one was movies or whatever. I was showing somebody how to do, to put some custom fields in there. And you can see these actually have labels on them. I didn't do any labels on my other ones, but you can actually put labels inside of the custom fields. But by default, you can kind of set, I want it above or below the content. It does show them inside of Cassiopeia, but it's not laid out, and I can't separate this out without going and making a custom override on this layout, which you're probably going to want to do. Especially if you're using Cassiopeia, you're probably pretty familiar with that, to go in and make custom layouts. So I just wanted you guys to see that. All right. So let me pull this one out of there too. Don't confuse myself. We'll close down the database. We don't need to look in the database anymore. So let's show those awards on this Koala Days, or in all of our books. So let's go and take a look at how did we add this. And let's do that. And then I'm going to show you the other type of custom fields real quickly. And so we're going to go to our templates. Like I told you, I'm using YouThink's Page Builder here. And so if we go into our books here, I've got a template for that called book template. So I'm going to go in the builder. Now, the cool thing, there's SP Page Builder supports custom fields too, I'm pretty sure. There's few of the page builders in the Joomla world, and they probably all support custom fields at this point. But like I said, just double check if you're going to use them to make sure that it does. So in this instance, actually, you know what? I don't want to put the awards here. I don't think I want to put the awards on the individual pages. So let me go back and let's go to actually this individual page. And now you can see I've got a single article template here. So I'm going to go into that builder. So what I'm doing here is, I'll just show you real quickly. We're not teaching you the page builder, but I just want you to see I am using dynamic content and I'm pulling the article there. When I look down here at this list, what I am pulling here is that's the wrong one. Let me go back here. Here, I am pulling my ISBN, because once I've set this to be dynamic and look at the article, I will see here's all my normal article fields, but look, here are all of my custom fields that I had. So I can actually select them and lay them out wherever I want to put them. Okay, and we've also now got, and actually, why is of course, they're not going to show up in here. So actually what we're going to do is we're going to switch our author here, and we'll come back to the other one, but we're going to switch this author, because why would I want my author down here? It should be up with my title. So I could take that author out of here. So let's delete that author. And by the way, the author, like I said, I was using the user for that, which I think is just fine, especially if you wanted to give your authors the ability to go in and edit these. So let's move the author's name up here. I'm going to go back. And so I've got this headline. So I'm going to add another little field right in here. It can just be a text field. And again, I'm going to make this one dynamic from my article. And the content is also going to be dynamic. It is going to be the author. And I must have missed it up here. No, it's down below. That's right. Category author. And so I could pick, do I want it to be their name, which is like full name in your Joomla users? Do I want it to be the username? This is where I said I probably wouldn't use, even if I was going to give my authors the ability to edit their own, I probably wouldn't use this here. I would probably make a custom field on that other and put it by their first and last name. So that way, if people wanted to sort by the last name, they could. So what I would have to do here is I would have to put together two that's their first and last name, put them together here to show them. So anyway, that's probably what I would do just for better data segregation. You can get that last name out of there. All right, so now we've moved our author up here. So you can see it's very easy to put those custom fields in. Now, why my other custom fields aren't showing up, of course, because I'm live, that's why. And I'm sure I just did something wrong. So I'm going to go back here, because what I want to make sure that I have time to do is show you the user fields, as well as, I don't know if you noticed, but when I go to this Our Books page, so I've got my books listed here. I also had this little book search over here, and notice it's my same field pretty much. ISBN, the ones I picked. What type, is this fiction or nonfiction? Maybe I want to also see comedy and mystery. So I can go in here and I can filter these. So let's just start with one's a fiction, one's a nonfiction, so that we can actually see the filter work. So you can see this is my fiction book. And so I can actually search with these. This is not built into custom fields. That's why I wanted to show it to you. Let's go back to seeing them all in the back end here. One, when I was working on those fields, you'll notice that, the filtering parameter, the filtering parameter, this is where I have to go and tell it to show up on that filtering parameter. So, I mean, the filtering module, I have to tell it here, and I can tell it, do I want this to be text? Do I want it to be a range? Each one kind of have a little bit different settings depending on the type they are. So you do have to make sure you've told the field that it can show up in the filters. Now, let me go look at my installed extensions here. Now, actually, let's just go to the components and look at it. No, modules, excuse me. Let's go to the modules. It's a module. So let's go to our site modules and I'll show it to you here. Okay. Book search is what I named mine. I'm sure I just passed it there. Let's just search. All right, so book search. And you can see the type is JL Content Fields Filter. That is the name. It is installable from the back end of Joomla, so it's in the web store, so you can install it from there. It is free, JL Content Fields Filter. If I open this up, you can see that you can filter whether you want to filter on the articles, the contacts, or tags. Do you want to just show in category pages? If it's empty, do you want to hide it? Which categories do you want? You have a lot of options in here on what you can do with this filter module. And so I do highly recommend, because the whole point of structuring your data is to make it easy to find. I could actually just use Joomla Smart Search and I could find, say, for instance, this ISBN number. But that's just not as clean as me being able to just go here and type in an ISBN number I'm looking for, right? That's just cleaner, I feel like. And it's all together with your category. I could type fiction in my smart search, but goodness gracious, I'm going to get a ton of things. I could even get some nonfiction that might have used the word fiction in their description, right? So by going in here and taking our data and structuring it, we can search on just certain parts of data. And I know I'm running out of time here. So really quickly, because I want to make sure you also see this. These are the field groups in your content. You also can make field groups under users. So you can see here, I made an author info group. And then under that field, I put their bio, which is a text area, so a bigger text area. You could also use the editor one if you want them to have like a WYSIWYG editor to write their bio with. And the author website. All of these things are associated with users in this case. So in my demo here, I'm expecting authors to be users. And so I'm going to capture more information about them. And so that way, if I wanted to, at the bottom of those books, I could always use the same author bio from their user. So this gives me more data on each user. The other thing is under contacts. I'm not really using contacts in this particular site, but if you wanted to, you could do field groups here, and then you could do fields. Maybe you want to have, maybe this is a bigger organization, maybe it's a publishing house. And so you want to have a list of contacts that people can have. So you've got sales, you've got marketing, you've got new author research, whatever. You've got different groups that people could belong, different categories that people would belong in. You might have specific information about that person. Maybe you want to add their LinkedIn profile, things like that. All of this could be done with custom fields under contacts. I do believe web links supports it too, but you have to install web links now. It's not in course, but I think it also supports these. So, okay, wowee. I was really talking fast there to try to get through that last little bit. So I guess I need to ask at this point, because we are down to the last 10 minutes here or so. So the question is, are there any questions? I will open it up to see if there are any questions.
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of questions, Robbie. YouTube is kind of, YouTube is humming with questions. So, good. You have to make it really easy. And then there's a party on YouTube happening. We have Mark already in there, and there's people are shooting away. So let's make it easy for you and ask those one by one, so that
okay,
easy for
and
them.
I hope I know the answers.
Yes.
If I don't know the answer, I will tell you I don't know the answer. I won't just make up an answer, hopefully. Sure. No, I'm joking. I will tell you if I don't know the answer. I don't know everything there is to know about custom fields. I just know, enough to explain it to you, I feel like, and hopefully get you excited to use them, because I do think they're a great.
Absolutely. I think we've been using them for quite some time. And in fact, the biggest Joomla sites we've built, interestingly, we've used custom fields for menus as well. I'm not sure if people know you can do custom fields for menus, but
nice.
We've done some fancy use cases with menu custom fields. So that's for later. I'll probably just look at the questions and then ask. So okay. Where do we see? Okay, so a little off, but then Mushtaba is asking, hi Robbie, what's the plan for Fabric?
Hey guys, we're talking about custom fields.
Sorry, that question came
that's
first,
okay.
But...
I knew we were going to get hit with that question. I knew it. And kind of to our kind of core fabric group out there, we have told them that we will be making an announcement by the end of this quarter. We are still looking at options of what we're going to do. Fabric is huge. Fabric's more lines of code than Joomla itself at this point. So getting it ready for Joomla 4 is no small feat. We actually started back with Alpha. And so we have a fork that we were working on, but it's sorely out of date at this point, obviously. And so we're looking at our options and we're trying to decide what is the best way forward with it. I mean, we will have some way forward. We're just not sure what we're doing yet with it. But we, I know that Joomla 3 hopefully will be supported even longer. We were talking about that before this actually started, that there's rumors that we'll probably have an extra year. So hopefully we have a couple of years here with Joomla 3. We'll obviously keep Fabric running with Joomla 3 while we're trying to sort what we're going to do. But we will be making an announcement by the end of this quarter because we want people to know what is coming or not coming and how we're planning on moving forward with Fabric. And so they can then plan with their web apps as well. I mean, we have some huge web apps built with it. So we have to have an answer for it. So we're just trying to figure out what is our best answer with it. And we're talking to a few other companies and such too about this as well. So yeah, I don't have an answer for you today. I wish I did. And I knew I was going to have that question today, even though I was talking about custom fields, but that's the only answer I can give you today, that there's an answer coming.
Yeah. So you at least know people are asking that question. So that's good.
Yes.
All right. And then we have, okay, I'm not sure if you have an answer for that. There's a question saying Joomla is dead language. I think definitely not.
Joomla is dead language? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Joomla is PHP and MySQL. WordPress is PHP and MySQL. Drupal is PHP and MySQL. Absolutely. They all use the same language. It is not dead. And anybody who tells you PHP is dead is no. I would argue that any day of the week. Sorry, no, it's not. There's too much of the web that's on these languages.
Absolutely. So. Strong.
But hey. I mean, I'm all for the new languages as well. And we use React Native and React DOM. I mean, yeah, you've got to, you do have to expand your horizons. I totally agree with that.
It is about
PHP is not dead.
Yeah, it's definitely about creative. I mean, a lot of projects we do these days are Joomla backends and mobile apps and Angular React frontend. So, I mean, it's really fun to use it like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Then we have a question here, interesting one. So Imran is asking, is there a flexibility in placement of fields? I mean, by default, they can either appear before or after the article content. There's no way to customize. So
yes, so you can, yes, the answer to that, I did kind of cover it. One, if you're using a page builder, you saw how it was able to place individual custom fields, even if they were in the same group. I can move them, put them all around. You can put them however you want with a page builder. So you have that flexibility with those. Otherwise, if you're using just a regular template, then you may have to do an override for the layout. There's also I think it's actually one of those articles that I showed you that Mark wrote on the magazine. He's got a whole list of resources and other, and also at the end of that video, I think they also list some other plugins and modules and extensions that work with your custom fields. And one of them is called Easy Layout. And that does allow you to do some layout with just your custom fields there. But then if you want to do an override of your template, you can lay those out however you want. That is the beauty of it, is they are actually individual pieces. They're actually individual pieces of data that you can move around and lay out how you want. But you will have to know how to do a custom override if you're using just a regular template. If you're not comfortable with that, then maybe you should check out some of the page builders. And I think both of the page builders maybe have a free version and they have a pro version. So, I mean, if you're looking to just play around, you could try it and then see if it works for you or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think most of the times, I think page builder layouts, I think most of the use cases does. I mean, I think those two do handle most of the use cases. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, just reading.
And you definitely are going to be doing a custom override, though, if you want to do things like I was showing you that where the guy used it to create custom color overlays. He was using the color field. If you're going to start using, and I think in the video that I mentioned too, with the open graph, he's going to be using those in a different manner. And so there are plenty of use cases where you're going to need to create custom overrides in some way to utilize what you want to use those fields for. So.
Yeah. In fact, one interesting use case comes to my mind. So recently we did a project where we used a lot of Joomla custom fields, and we also used Pages. Pages is another extension by Johan. So that was another fun
Yes.
way to kind of use them. So you just use custom fields as like a data source, and then use Pages to kind of bring them forth. So
yeah, absolutely. I was just talking to Johan yesterday about Pages. As a matter of fact, I don't know why I didn't think about bringing it up, but yes, Pages also works very easily with your custom fields, so you can do custom layouts. And Pages is, if you are technical enough to use it, you can have a very, very fast site. So
yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we just launched
it's like a headless answer.
Yeah, we just launched a site with Pages that's doing like 10,000 throughput requests per second. So we just did a performance test, and it's blazing. Yeah, pretty good.
Awesome. Cool. Congrats. All right.
Right. So next question. Where do we go? Hobby is asking, is it possible to use a CSV file to generate custom fields at scale? Or does it sound like mission impossible?
That's a very good question. I'm trying to think. It seems like I did see, and there might be a plugin or extension out there that does that, or maybe it was a GitHub project where someone was working on something that does that. I don't know how you can't just out of the box. There's no way in Joomla core out of the box to go back there and go, hey, I would like to upload my CSV and do it. Because remember how there's 4 different tables, things are interconnected, and they're also connected to the categories, which is a Joomla thing. So how are you going to set that up in your CSV so that it's all associated properly? I'm not saying it couldn't be, you can, but I don't know the answer to that question offhand, though, what you can use to do that. Could you do it? Yeah, but you might have to write your own custom import query to do that.
Yeah, because definitely the asset table kind of is a little of a pain to ensure it's all wired up properly. So yeah,
you're correct. Good point.
Okay, then. Yeah, interesting question. So Mark is saying, which extension do you use for filtering on custom fields?
The one that I showed you there, there's a couple more, I do believe. That one is a free one that's out there, though, and I think it was one of the first. That's the one I knew the name of, JL Custom Fields Filter. JL. And if you search for that in the back end, you'll find it. But if you also just search for, if you go to the extension directory and look for custom fields filter, you'll find what options are out there for you, because there are more than one. You could also write a custom one if you wanted to. I mean, you saw how the data is structured. You could just write a custom module for yourself to sort and search how you want to.
Absolutely.
You have to be a little more technical to do that. I should say that you need to be more technical. So you probably want to start, if you're just getting into these, then yes, definitely go and grab one of the filter modules that somebody's already written for you.
Yeah, makes sense. Absolutely. What else do we have? Yeah, I think Mark has answered the question. I mean, he's mentioning ROCSVI by Roland for the import export. So maybe that's.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for throwing that out there, because I really wasn't sure the name of one. So awesome.
All right. I think that covers. I think we've
all right
the questions. I hope I'm not
missed
it. Yeah.
Thank you guys very much for doing these. That's what volunteer community is all about, is, get out and run events or help coordinate events or speak at those events, get involved in the teams however you can, whatever. And so we do appreciate Techjoomla doing these events. I think it's fantastic for the community. It's just another resource that people can go to. So thank you very much, guys. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was fun. I think interesting session. I'm sure everybody really liked it. And to all our viewers, I think thanks a lot for joining in. Hope to see you again next month. And Robbie, again, thanks a lot. Amazing topic. And I think was a wonderful session.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.